Hi, folks. Welcome to the latest in our series of Creator Chats. I'm James. I'm from the Melbourne Athenaeum Library in the Melbourne CBD. And I'm here today with Ben Hutchings, who is a comic creator and founder of Squishface Studio in Melbourne. Hi, Ben.
Hello, how you going?
Not bad. So do you want to start by just telling us a bit about yourself? Um, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Been drawing comics for a couple of decades. Been here in Melbourne for about 10 years, running Squishface Comic Studio, which is a cartoonist workspace and collective, and just for cartoonists and comic artists and anyone in that kind of side of things. Yeah, we're located in Brunswick. I've been doing that for about 10 years and drawing comics for a living and for a hobby as well.
Cool. And so how's all the Squishface studios and comic writing and drawing going with the lockdown in effect? How's that affected you?
The working itself hasn't been disrupted. Obviously you can work anywhere, but and I was a little worried at first about the studio because members can't come in. I lost a few members because I couldn't afford to come in. They're losing their jobs a little bit. And also you're not really supposed to see other people and stuff, so I've got a 1-2 person rule now. So people still, because of the lockdown, actually what ended up happening, though, I thought we were going to close, what ended up happening is that people are so stir crazy from being at home so long that they do like to come in once a week or so I've actually scheduled this really strict schedule now, and we are kind of using the place, so I think it's going to be okay. Everyone's saying that we're going to loosen the restrictions soon, but even if we don't, I think it's not going to be too long before we get back into it. So it should be okay. Should survive, I think. Squishface will survive, I think. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So on you, what first drew you to writing comics? What was the realization? How did you go about starting?
I was really young, and I already drew all the time. So I just drew since when I was a little kid, and just like funny pictures. But I think when I was maybe 10 or so, I suddenly clicked and loved comics. Just loved them straight away. I think I read a couple of books that I really liked, and suddenly everything I drew became a comic. I would have been 11 or 10, and I never ever looked back. I never stopped wanting to be a comic drawer or draw anything else apart from them. Yeah, it was weird. Just suddenly and really passionately loved comics so much, and just bought them. Every single one I ever saw, I would buy it. Saved up every penny that I had to buy any comic that I found. I'm not that obsessed anymore, but I'm right way into drawing. Still love doing it. Yeah, it's hard to explain like what made that happen, but just I think I read a really wonderful book called The International World of Comics, which no, it's not here, but it's a man's collection. This man has a giant comic collection. He just made a book about it. Photos of every comic, really valuable, significant comics in the history going back 100 years, and photographs of all the front covers laid out in different genres. And I poured over that book obsessively. It was amazing. I remember every cover and wishing I could open them up and look at them. And yeah, that was part of it. I just became obsessed with them a bit. I don't read that many anymore. I actually don't really read heaps of them. I've got a whole bunch behind me, but I still that's relatively not that many. And but I just love drawing them so much. I always think of stories and jokes and ideas and stuff to draw, and I'll do them whether I'm getting paid for them or not. I'll draw them. Yeah.
Yeah. And so how do you go from working on being interested in drawing your own comics to Squishface Studio and creating that space for others to do it?
That was the studio was because that was more to do with, because I used to just work in my room and just work in the lounge room or something like that for my whole life, really, or bedroom or wherever, or the library or whatever. And we did a thing called Inherent Vice in the city. The NGV had a residency for comic artists, and they called us up and said, "Oh, do you know anyone else? And can we get together a bunch of people?" like we're forming a team like that, And I was like, yeah. And so we got like 9 people, and we were just meant to work in there on show to the public. So we were just doing what we did at home. They even said bring your lamp and your desk and your chair in, just work in there as if you were at home and let people watch you. And I did, and it was so cool because I didn't know it was interesting or anything like that, and I don't know what people think. You just do it, right? And people were watching us and crowding around and walking past. And, oh, so it's just a man drawing. What's so amazing about that? And sticking our pictures up, and they seemed really interested, and it was just nice. And I worked really hard during that time, and it was just a thrill. The whole thing was one of the best times. So when that was over, I wanted to have another one, and they all kind of wanted to organize another one, but that never happened. But instead I thought maybe we should have a permanent place like this to do that all the time, So I found an empty shop front and got enough interested people to do that, to have a permanent place like that. And the idea was that the public would come in, and just like the other place. But it didn't work out like that. That was not a very realistic thing, because you can't really do it in a small room. Like, no one wants to walk into a small room and look at people draw. Like, it's a bit different. But it turned into its own thing. It has its own feel. It feels very different than that. But it has a really good communal kind of feel, and friendly as well. And we just have all kinds of events and things like that. We're open to the public technically, but not really. It's more just like we're a shop front, and we do chat to people a bit, but we more have events and things like that there. Yeah, it's become its own thing. It's really good.
Yeah, so I've never really come across anything like Squishface Studio anywhere else. It seems to be quite its own unique beast. So
yeah.
what sort of events do you run for people? What sort of stuff would people be likely to see if they did come through?
Well, if they came through, they would really just see us working there, which is what always happens. We say hello, but we're just working. We've got a little area where you buy stuff. Nothing will really be going on, especially not now. There's nothing going on. But normally, people will come in and just look at the stuff that we sell on the shelves, and sometimes they come in with a question. There's not much to see per se, right? But events we will hold. We will hold events quite regularly. We'll have a real variety of things, usually presentations. We had some dude come off the street. I'd never met him before. He was from Slovenia. He goes, "Hi, I'm a cartoonist from Slovenia. Can I do a presentation? I do these back home all the time. Can I do it here?" I said, "Yeah, okay." And so we set a date, and he came in and did this really awesome slideshow presentation of the comics that he draws and the Slovenian comic scene. And it was like a slideshow, but also had pictures up of all the biggest cartoonists over there. We bought all these Slovenian soft drinks and served them to people, and it was really, really fun. It was really nice. I'd never thought about Slovenian comics in my life, but there you go. That's the kind of random thing that happens. Or we might just go, "There's nothing on. Let's put a show on ourselves," and we have a gallery show. We have book launches there. We have birthday celebrations. So every year we have on the birthday of the opening of the studio, we'll have like a coaster show, like a drink coasters. And we'll put out all these blank drink coasters, put out all these pens, and just open the doors, and just people will swarm in, because it's usually in summer, in January, and then people just swarm, and families and kids and everyone with their parents, and people just draw, and we stick them all up on the wall, and have this massive show just with drinks. And we have a monthly drawing night. So that's just a free kind of social event with people coming and draw. What else? Kids classes. We run those quite often. Kids drawing workshops. Heaps of things. Anything to do with comics, and anything that people propose to us as well. So we'd like to just have things on so that people come in and think about us. And
yeah, oh, that's great. Sounds like it's I'm always amazed at how interested people are at all the different stages of comic production and everything like that. We had at my library, we have an artist residency every year. And last year we had Chris Gooch came in working on Under Earth. And so he, like you said, at the NGV, he brought in his desk and his lamp and everything, and was working away, and
so I remember when he did that. He's a member of Squishface. You knew that, right?
So he was working there, and it was amazing how many people came in to have a look at the work he was doing and how that was all all happening. So yeah, it's a really interesting thing that I think it's something that libraries could be um, interested in for their members to show off that side of the process.
Yeah,
Is that something
yeah.
you've found you had much to do with libraries or not?
You mean have I done those
Yeah,
or
yeah. Have you done events with libraries or
heaps
anything like
of
that?
events? Nothing,
Mm,
not a residency. I love that though. I've applied for a residency overseas and stuff like that, but I really like doing them. I haven't done residencies for libraries, but we have been involved a lot with libraries. You guys, i.e. libraries, have been doing comic related things a lot recently. Diamond Valley did some really nice comic cons. They were great
yeah.
up in there was 3 of them. They were fantastic. I still think about them. And I think there's a couple coming up. There's a whole bunch this year, but because of the virus, they've all been put off.
Mm,
But what else? Yeah, I've just actually been invited to quite a few things that are now not happening probably for a while. But yeah, I love working with the libraries because they seem very interested in comics now, and so that's really cool. Hmm.
yeah.
What else? We had we did have one in the city as well. Maybe that was your one where we had a Squishface Studio exhibit. There was like a different one every month, and a different organisation would put up their
Yeah.
stuff.
No, that
That
wasn't us. That might have been the city library, but
that was
yeah,
like,
Flinders Lane.
um,
Yeah, that's the city library.
yeah.
So
Okay,
but yeah.
different one. Hmm.
Mm. But yeah, so it's always great to work with, like we're doing here with the creator chats. It's great to get the that collaboration with the creators of the stuff that's going into the libraries. I
Yeah,
think it's a really good way to add value for library members and users to have
yeah,
that on offer as well.
yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
So your work that you've done, probably the best known is The Invisible War, I think.
yeah. Yep.
So can you tell us a bit about that and what that was like to work on?
Yeah. In fact, where is it? I'll just get a copy out from my
Uh,
behind me. Ah, there it is. Hey, look, I've got a preliminary version before it was even made.
oh,
Look at
wow.
that.
Yeah.
Photocopied with all the errors marked in texture. But it doesn't look actually the end one looks like that. And then in fact we've got a new cover now. So we've got a couple of different covers. We've got an updated one.
Well, that's the cover I've got on my shelf. So,
Yeah. We've got a more colourful one now.
ah,
But that's it, and yeah, and I'm not showing you because you know it, but yeah, I'm showing the audience.
yeah,
Yeah, full of science.
yeah,
This is war, a historical. What is it? A historical science story, World War One, nurse-based dysentery affiliated book or something.
yeah.
That was great. Oh, sorry, was there a question? There was, wasn't there? What was
Yeah.
it?
So, what was it like to work on it?
Oh, awesome! Really, really interesting. Yeah, because they contacted me early on, said, we're doing a science book, can you do this? And I went, yep, and didn't really think about it. And they showed me some pictures, really basic pictures of, oh, we want to do this kind of thing. They showed me this very simple 9-panel comic of a virus landing on a bacterium. And yeah, I can do it. And I didn't think about it for 9 months. And in that 6 or 9 months or whatever it was, they were writing the book. And they finally got in contact with me and showed me this draft of the script, and it was so dense and huge, and it was meant to be 32 pages or something really small. It was meant to be a really, and I was just, there's no way, man, look at this, it's just all this information, plus it was really dynamic, and the story was so exciting and just really, it felt really in your face, and like it had room for being, this epic thing. And so I think I said, it should probably be twice as long at least, or this is, going to be huge. And they were cool. And then I started really thinking about it properly. And it was just this epic, deep story, really unusual as well, really strange because it's, as you might know, it is about World War One, but it tells the story of an Australian nurse in France in the medical emergency tents,
Yeah.
sending all the wounded soldiers, but then the story will zoom down into to a microscopic level to inside her gut, because she contracts dysentery from a piece of cheese, and so it zooms right down and tells you how the germs get into the body and infiltrate the body, and what they do, and shows what they do as well in a parallel story.
Yeah, I really like the parallels that had
Yeah.
between the war in World War One and the war that the antibodies are fighting with the disease that's entering the body.
Yeah,
Well,
and
that was a really
exploding.
interesting way to do it. Yeah.
It's almost like violence and everything. And the bacteria sort of have their voice. They sort of talk in a way. They kind of talk and have discussions and stuff. And different armies of things, like with different. It's really cool. So I was learning as I was reading the script and working on it. Also researching heaps, but researching into World War One photos, which there aren't that many, and also they're horrific, and also just like doing tons of research while I'm working. They were giving me heaps of reference material as well, just sending it to me all by email, and there's 3 of them. There's a writer and 2 researchers and other researchers, and me just sort of drawing as fast as I could. But it took me maybe a couple of months to pencil the whole book, just do the pencils, the rough pencils. And then it took I inked it in record time. Like, I worked faster than I've ever worked to ink it, to do the inks and finish each page. I think a month and a half, something like that, which is a record. And it was really, really hard, but so good and so thrilling. It was intense. Yeah, I loved it. I really loved it. Never
That's
done a
great.
project. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it was very collaborative process. And how did you find that? The collaboration work, because what a lot of the people we've spoken to so far in the creator chats, it's often been their own little project that they're doing in their own space and everything. So that collaboration process, how was that?
Good. It's different. I think people work well when they're in groups and pairs. You don't want a big group, right? So, but working with 2 people or 3 people is really excellent, especially if you can only just get it all filtered down into one person that you're talking to, right? Having too much feedback can be a bit difficult. Having too many people say change that, it just gets a bit hard. So I think it was great, and I have to say the things where I collaborate are always so far they're the most popular things, because I'm only doing half the work, right? I'm leaving, and that's nice too. Letting someone else take care of one whole side of things is actually really nice in a way. Yeah, hard to say. Yeah, when you're working by yourself, especially if you're working by yourself and no one's pushing you, like not to a deadline that anyone else has set, you're just taking it upon yourself to do a thing. Then it's you've got to do all the motivation, and you've got to set your own schedule, and you've just got to do it because you want to, and it's difficult to want to for the whole. You know what I mean?
Across the whole process, and through the bits that you don't like you mightn't like editing particularly, or particular parts. Yeah, to keep the motivation up through that, I can understand would be a challenge.
Yeah. So I did a different book called Mini Mel, which is a kid's book. That took me 13 years. From the first drawing it did. I wasn't sitting there for 13 years, but working on it. But from the first drawing, and that was all me. No one heard about the book. That was all just me doing it. And so obviously, I wasn't pushing myself that hard most of the time, but yeah.
So Mini Mel and it's Timid Tom, isn't it? Mini Mel and Timid Tom. Yeah. So that's one of your more recently published works. Obviously, been working on for a while, but that was just last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, last July I brought that out.
And it's your first junior graphic novel, your first one for kids? Or
first graphic novel, I think I did a kids I've worked on a few little
Yeah.
kids things, but yeah.
Mm.
First substantial kids graphic novel. Yeah,
So
first proper size graphic novel, or even
mm,
maybe done some pretty long ones before, but I think that's the first full size standalone book. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that's good. And so what's it like? How's it compare doing graphic novels for adults and those for kids? Is it a same process, different process, or what are the similarities and differences?
Oh, the Invisible War is also for kids.
Mm,
So I mean, high school kids.
yeah.
And most of what I do, yeah, it has been in the past very much for adults, or older teenagers, that sort of thing. It's
Mm,
got bad language and all that kind of thing. Um, Working for kids is no different, man. I find it just, it's no different. It's still me. It feels like it's still just me, but just holding my language a bit and not. Plus, I think uh, it's really easy. I don't find it difficult at all. I think my biggest difficulty is not including really massive words too often, and also uh, themes that are too deep, because kids have a small bubble and a small kind of, they're not expanded really really far yet,
yeah.
so you can't get too abstract. And I like getting abstract and I like talking about ethics and morals, but I don't think you can get too deep into
Yeah.
things like motivations, and you just you start to go, oh, okay, yes, back off and just be a bit more simple about things.
Mm,
Yeah, but I find it really
yeah.
easy. It's really easy. Just like
Yeah.
you can easily talk to your grandma and then talk to a kid, right? And you can easily talk to your wife, or you could talk to your mate down the pub, and then you can just go and talk to a kid. It's not hard. You just talk a bit differently, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a skill that I think everyone realizes they have, but to be able to have that across different things. But it's really great that you're able and confident to create stories across different age ranges and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. It's it. I think kids care about. Um, it's not true to say they care about the same things. They do, but just on a smaller.
Mm. They care
They
about
know
the same
all.
things, they just care differently, kind of thing.
Yeah, and their frame of reference is just smaller things.
Yeah.
So they know all about injustice.
Mm.
They know all about when people lie and when things aren't fair. It's just
Yeah.
what they think is fair and makes them cry is like not getting that jelly bean they wanted, but they still know what it feels like. Like
Yeah.
it's the same feeling. It's exactly the same emotion, isn't it? I
Mm.
reckon it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've spoken about about two different things. One for quite young kids, one for older kids.
Yeah.
One that was a collaboration, one that was all your own work. Um, when you are creating comics for in those different graphic novels in those different styles and for different ages and all of that,
Mm.
um, what are some of the things that really go through and are the same across everything? And what are some of the things that really jumped out at you as differences between different ones that you've worked on?
Yeah. I mean, maybe some specific things like getting a laugh out of a swear word, a well-timed swear word is always
Yeah,
funny, but obviously can't do that in kids' ones.
yeah,
Um, Aside from that, it kind of is the same things. People
mm,
using a strange turn of phrase is always funny to me. I do that all the time. I make people use very clumsy language just for fun. Um, yeah, really, it. I don't think it is that different. I'm just talking in terms of comedy. Like
yeah,
all my stuff's funny, right? So
yeah.
I just find everything I do funny. Invisible War is not that funny, I have to say, but it's not meant to be.
Mm. But it still
Uh,
manages to find its moments through it, and it really
yeah,
helps the story by doing that, I think.
yeah, you have to. You always have to have humor,
Mm,
no matter what you're writing about. That's a difficult question. I'd have to think about that one a little more.
yeah.
What's
Oh,
the
well, we'll
same?
have to have you back for another chat and ask you about that then too.
I think satire is also different. You can't, in a kids thing, they're not going to know what you're talking about a lot of the time. Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm, that's good. So you do a lot of work through Squishface Studio with indie publishers and people who are self-publishing and all of that. What advice would you have to new creators who are looking to get published, who are looking to self-publish, what's the best way to get your books noticed and to get them out there?
Social media is a really good thing to do. Contacting bookshops is a really good thing to do because they will also help you with that when they get your book and they know it. Oh boy, there's so much. Yeah, social media is the best thing. It really is. I can't deny that. I have an Instagram which I tend to, and I think that's a really good platform. Facebook just happens to work really well for me as well. But getting it seen in any way possible is the best thing to do, and attending conventions. So you will have to go to a little effort forking out money for sitting at conventions and that kind of thing. Having a table at conventions is fantastic. Meeting people face to face and showing them your work. Getting your work seen in any way possible is the most important thing. Contacting comic shops and also bookshops if you've got an actual book with a barcode and that sort of thing. Yeah, it's that kind of thing.
And what about libraries? How have you gone getting your books into libraries, and what can other creators learn from what you've done?
They can learn from me. I've had no success. I know so many librarians, and all of whom love comics and love my work and love my book, but getting it to be in their catalogue has been a nightmare. I've got it on, I think James Bennett is one of them, and another one in Western Australia, who are the suppliers.
Yep.
I think. I understand that you contact the supplier when you do your buying thing or whatever it is. It explained to me. But unfortunately, yeah, for some reason, I haven't been able to get one single copy into any library. I've, like I say, done tons of events, got lots of events lined up for libraries, readings and readings in libraries and comic cons and all that kind of thing. Just haven't been able to, I don't really get it. I don't really understand how to make that happen. It hasn't worked very well yet. If you're in a library and you want my book, maybe write to me. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, yeah, James Bennett's the one that our library uses, so definitely have to look into how it's going on there. Yeah. Yeah. So before we finish up, what are 3 current or 3 recent comics or graphic novels that you've read recently and would encourage others to check out?
Okay, so this is going to seem really strange compared to what we've been talking about up till now, because the ones that I like and the ones that I really love and stuff don't really relate much to what I actually do. Well, actually, I've got them here. This is why I'm leaning down. But well, you're going to talk to Chris, so we won't go on about this too much. I think we've already mentioned Chris Gooch. I've recently finished his Under Earth
Part
trilogy.
3. Yeah,
there's 3 of these locally produced, risographed by our friends. They're amazing. I'm so glad that I've got the original 3 that he's printed, because he's gonna do a different, more professional edition of that book later. So it's like a sci-fi trilogy. He apparently was trying to what's the word, invoke the mood of old manga, like old 70s manga, adventure manga, and he really did that. It's just got that nice, fast, instantly accessible. You know, you start reading and you're hooked, and you watch this adventure. So I really enjoyed that. But we won't go on about that because he can go on about that himself. This isn't recent. It's a recent publication, but you know the Freak Brothers?
Freak Brothers. I'm not familiar with that one, but yeah.
This is a really, really, really significant comic. This is important. All libraries should have it. It's an adult comic. It's one of the first adult comics from the 1960s. The Robert Crumb. You would have heard of Robert Crumb.
Yep.
The 1960s underground comic movement. Freak Brothers was the other one, the other major significant comic of the time.
Okay.
These 3 hippies that get stoned all the time, run from the cops, have adventures, and just bum around, getting things for free, and living this. And it's really genuine. It's actually very funny, but it's also really authentic. You can tell the guy writing it lived that life to an extent, right? And I loved it as a kid. It was one of the ones that got one of the ones that really made an impression on me as a very young kid, probably too young, when I found it, and influenced my drawing style quite a lot, actually. Lots of black and white art, lots of little lines and things like that. And this book here, which is a recent one, you can still get it. It's just got every single one ever made, so it's like the entire thing. So it's quite culturally significant comic, particularly with American culture, counterculture, and psychedelic comics and that sort of thing. It's really good, really funny and silly comic. My last one, which is really interesting. It's not great. I don't think these are graphic novels. I mean, Chris's one is, but these are more collections, anthologies than a graphic novel. This is one called Kus. It's just a letter S there, but it's actually called Kus, Kus. It's from Lithuania, and it's a little anthology that comes out. I'm not sure how often, 4 times a year, and it's kind of art comics, like I guess you would say art comics. Some people call them art comics, experimental. They're alternative comics, right? Which has a different meaning now, I guess, but really just different form. Not necessarily funny, but very, very diverse and unique art styles. Often just made by one person expressing themselves very, in their own kind of way. But this is a very, very well. And by the way, sorry, it's in English, so you can read it. It's really well curated, and you won't like everything in it, but it's just a real pleasure to read. It's just a really nice. You can see how thick it is, and it's really small. This is almost all from Melbourne cartoonists. This is the Australian one. It's just fantastic. You can get it at Sticky Institute. Sticky Institute.
Yeah, the one down underneath Flinders Street Station there.
Yeah. This was actually one of my favorite things at the moment is reading this. It's like just a nice little treat. Just a bunch of really odd comics, usually European, nearly always European comics. Sometimes American, sometimes from all over. But I just like the absolute diversity of art styles, true stories, odd, surreal stories. Just it's a real mixed bag of stuff. Really well curated bunch of full color comics. Here's one that's all from Brooklyn, an anthology. All these comics are from Brooklyn in America. I find that to be such a fun little treat. There's, I think we're up to about issue, must be 70 or 80 now. Anyway, tons of them out. And they also bring out little tiny, little one-off ones with self-contained stories by different artists. It just looks like, some of the artwork is just so cute and nice to look at, this particular one. Yeah, so I'm not sure where else you can get that in Melbourne, apart from Sticky, probably other little undergroundy sort of shops. But you can go online and get it. It's spelled K-U-S exclamation mark. So that's how you spell it. And you can order them online. It's a really nice little comic. And that's the main things at the moment.
Yeah, definitely some more stuff for my TBR pile. So I'm interested too, at the start of that you said that your reading interests are quite different to your creative interests as far as comics and graphic novels. Do you know why that is? How that came about?
Yeah, I've got a specific sort of comic that I want to do, right, all the time. And nearly always funny. I nearly always want to do something funny. Not many people are doing funny comics, right? And I sort of like black and white, highly rendered adventures, right? Again, there's not too many. Maybe there is actually a lot of manga in that style, but even so, I prefer drawing than reading. To be honest, I prefer making stuff to reading. I really do. So that's another reason, and that's the reason. That's the short answer. I like working in a style that is not hugely prevalent. Is that the word? Not many people doing the sort of thing that I want to do, because I was inspired by comics by a particular kind, like I was saying, Freak Brothers, and things like that. And I still want to draw that kind of comic even now, 30 or 20 years later, or whatever it is. Despite what other people are making, I'm not particularly interested in computer color, computer doing that myself, but I like that other people do it. And like these Kush people who are doing comics in sort of crayon and watercolor and stuff, and I don't care about those mediums. I'm doing them, I don't care about them, but I like that other people are doing them. So I'm interested in what other people are doing sometimes, but yeah, it doesn't mean I want to do it myself, I guess. Yeah.
That's interesting. So yeah, before we get going, it's been wonderful talking to you. Thank you so much. But
Same.
before we do get going, what is the best way for people to keep updated on your projects and keep updated on what Squishface Studio is doing?
All right, so I'll give you just a bunch of online answers now. Squishface Studio, because we've got a website that's just with information. So squishfacestudio.com. The end, you can find about whatever we're doing on that. Me personally, if you want to read my back catalogue of work, hutcho.net, that's my website. Finally, my book, Mini Mel and Timid Tom, look up melandtom.club and you will just find a link to the book. But if you want the interesting stuff, do consider Instagram, because I've got one account for all three of those things. Look up Ben Hutchings, look up Squishface Comic Studio, and look up Mini Mel and Timid Tom on Instagram. There I will post everything pretty much that I ever draw, every event that we ever do. It's a lot more exciting on there. I just like that platform. I love Instagram. Do you go on that? It's just
not. I don't go on there as much as I go on some others. As far as libraries, Twitter tends to be the big one. There's a very active Twitter base for libraries, but Instagram's I think it's growing. I think people are becoming more interested, particularly for those who are interested in comics and graphic novels, because it is a more visual platform, so it does lend itself better.
More visual. Twitter's very loud. Twitter's for word. It definitely is for literature and words, man. Twitter's for words, for reading. Instagram's where the images are at. So yeah, if you want to get information, those three websites. You know how everyone knows how Google works. Ben Hutchings, Squishface Studio, Mini Mel and Timid Tom, but the Instagram I love. That's where I put all the cool stuff, all my photos of everything that we do and that kind of thing.
I'll try and make sure we put those links down in the description for the video as well, so that so people can go straight there. Well, it's been wonderful talking to you. Thank you so much, and look forward to what comes from in the future from both you and from Squishface.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Bye.